right, perfect. Well, thank you for doing this with us. We're
You're so
really excited
welcome.
to kind of, engage in this dialogue, take this opportunity to really think about like leadership in a context I bet many of us have really never thought about before. This is not like in the textbook of LD 210. So this is kind of a fun time and space to really explore leadership through like a virtual context, but then also during a time where there's a lot happening outside our front door. So thank you so much for this, especially taking your time out of your busy day. But I thought we kind of start by talking a little bit about like the balance between like leadership and management, which is a discussion that is long lasted, like
Mhm.
all of the theory behind leadership strategies and things like that. And right now, as we kind of switch to this virtual form, we're seeing that we're going to have to adjust a lot of both our management styles and our leadership styles, and also therefore adjust the balance between the two. So what do you think that we can do as leaders to kind of balance that within this new virtual format?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I start thinking about the differences between leadership and management, I think more around transformational versus transactional. So for me, leadership is about transforming, creating change, making a difference, having a positive impact. When I think of management as very transactional in the sense of I do something for you, you do something for me, we both might benefit. I'm going to check some boxes. I'm going to do some things that are necessary, that are important to keep us moving forward, but they might not have the same impact or positive outcome or change that leadership can result in. And so asking your question about how do we think about how we lead, how we manage, it's definitely going to be different. We're in a time where we're going to have to make significant adjustments. We're going to have to think outside the box. We're going to have to be creative. That's going to be both within the way we lead folks, lead ourselves, lead within our families, lead within our communities, whether it's the communities that we're physically with right now or the communities that we're engaging in virtually, but also thinking about the management of how am I managing basic needs? How am I doing the things that I need to move forward each day? How am I ensuring that I am making a routine and I'm adhering to it? And they're going to look different. And so I think for folks really being able to question, what am I doing for myself? What am I doing for others right now? How am I having a positive impact on the communities that I'm a part of? But then also knowing like, sometimes you just got to get by day to day, and that's okay too. And that some days are going to feel super productive, and some days are going to feel like, what the heck did I just do? And that's okay too. I saw a really unique quote that says, and you can think of this in the context of studying too, that we're not working from home during a pandemic. We're at home during a pandemic trying to work. And so I think being able to think about that in the context of this is so new, it is so different, it is not anything that we have ever experienced in our lifetimes. For most of us in our lifetimes, we've never lived through a global crisis. So what are the things that we need to adjust, change, and do differently, and know that sometimes we're going to hit the mark and sometimes we're not, and that's okay too.
Absolutely. And to kind of jump off of that, a lot of leadership is really our relationships with one another, which has changed drastically since we're not on Elon's campus. We're not able to engage with each other in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So what might be like some nice like tips and tricks in order to keep the teams that we exist in engaged, so we're all kind of on the same board, while also kind of setting boundaries of for ourselves and for our team members, to allow ourselves times to kind of like process and give ourselves grace within everything that's happening.
Yeah, good one. So it's good that you asked that. I was in a webinar today earlier around Generation Z. So kind of this current college student, the rising high schoolers, and what are they looking for in this time of crisis, and how are they connecting with people? And I think the good thing is that for folks that are within your generation, for our college students at Elon, they are already used to connecting with each other virtually, whether that's they're used to group text and FaceTime and posting videos or going to YouTube to learn something different. So I think for some, this virtual world that we're living in, it might not have been that hard of a transition, but when you add learning, which was probably not happening that way, and the need to only communicate or be in communion with people this way, I think that's where the layers of challenge can present itself, where you're given the option, oh, I'll FaceTime my friend, oh, I'll FaceTime my mom, but like now I can't actually be with these people. And I think that's where the challenge lies. And so when I'm thinking about the modes and methods through which we're communicating, one thing that I've been trying to do daily is pick someone I haven't talked to in a while, and use this as an opportunity to reconnect with them, checking in, whether that's, hey, do you want to set up a time to call, or I'd love to jump on a video call with you, or sending a text message. And I think it's important for us to maintain those connections and maintain those relationships even when we are physically distant from each other, because we can do that. We've got this time, as you said, to reflect, to think, and to process. And some of that might be, I haven't talked to this person for a while, or it'd be really great to reconnect with that person, and they might be feeling the same way too. So that's one practice that I'm engaging in. When I think about my student organizations and the groups and communities that we have at Elon, this is definitely a challenging time, whether it was folks who just got done with a recruitment process for a sorority, or people who were trying to join an organization, people who are getting ready to take on a brand new leadership position within those organizations. Like, it's not easy. And so being able to think outside the box, how can I connect with my organization? How can we move things to some virtual platforms? I found a lot of comfort in just getting on a web conference with people who are available, just checking in. How are you doing? What's working? What's not? Who needs help with motivation? What are you watching right now on Netflix or YouTube? You know, what is motivating you or getting you through the day? And really thinking outside of the in-face person-to-person meetings, which we know that folks in Gen Z prefer. They prefer having that face-to-face communication and being able to be with people. But the next best thing we can do right now is be in video, and like we are right now. And so it might not be the same, it might not feel the same, but hopefully it'll give you those warm fuzzies of being able to connect with those people and be in community in the best format that we can do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to tie that in, there's a lot of dialogue kind of within this leadership world right now of people talking about ways to inspire your team, which revolves largely around giving gifts, which is not something we normally do within leadership roles, but is now something that's kind of on like this new wave. Like I was thinking of my little sister. She's still working right now. She works at a little ice cream shop down the road from us, and one day they were just giving out like itty bitty just chocolate balls to all the customers that came through, and people were just so gracious for anything, just because it is such a hard time. However, since we are kind of leading through this virtual context, what might be a virtual form in order to give these so-called like gifts to those that we are existing in spaces with?
So I love that idea. I think everyone likes to feel appreciated, right? And everyone likes to feel like they matter and that they're making a difference and that people care about them. So I think there are different ways. If you're familiar with love languages, for some it might be giving gifts. For some it might be words of affirmation and being positive and sharing that with folks. For others, it might be quality time, which I imagine a lot of people are getting quality time with people, maybe too much quality time. But there are different ways that folks can engage with each other, whether close in proximity or at a distance. I've really loved the power of social media that we've been able to harness through the Center for Leadership. We've been able to do interactive activities like our bingos and our chats and checking in with people and seeing how they're doing. And I think really what people want, just like they do at Elon, they want to find a sense of belonging. They want to find a sense of purpose, and they want to be able to fulfill their passions. They want to be able to help people and make a difference in the world. And so being able to think about how you can continue all those positive behaviors in a way that feels still authentic to who you are, but allows you to engage in a digital space can be a challenge. And so whether it's, sending text messages, posting something that you need from other people, being able to find new outlets through podcasts or YouTube or just other methods that people are out there using, I think it's important not to recreate the wheel. There are lots of amazing resources, whether it's meditation, YouTube. And I love how many businesses have decided, like, this is a great opportunity for me to take something that we were providing to people for a fee or for a cost, and now we're going to make them open. Like, who has the opportunity to go to the Louvre and see a digital, you can go on the Louvre's website and go through and do a live virtual museum tour. Never would probably be able to do that in my lifetime, but I can have that opportunity now. You want to take some guitar lessons? Let's learn. So I think there are opportunities to engage in new practices, try new things, find new passions, and sit in that reflection, but also in a way that is affirming to other people, that feels worthy and gratifying. And I know that's not easy for everyone. There's definitely times that we're going to struggle or have difficulties or just want for this to be over. And that's going to be hard to get through too. But I think to be able to persevere, to reflect, to think about the things that we're grateful for through gratitude practice. These can all be ways that we can continue to give of ourselves and to give to other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that also one of the largest byproducts of this whole global crisis is simply we're seeing a lot of discussion around equity issues, just because since we are now working through these virtual platforms, we're also really seeing how these virtual platforms also have very many limits to them, especially when there are families that might only have one laptop available in the home or are not able to afford internet access. So, as leaders, that can feel kind of disheartening, especially within a system that seems so much larger than yourself. So what are some like tips and practices and mindsets that we can kind of keep to kind of make ourselves aware of all that's happening with problems of equity as we're seeing harm being done throughout the country to those with limited access to resources, but then also find things that we can do in order to work for that purpose.
So good. And I wish we could spend all day, right, talking about this,
Right?
trying to solve this problem. I think when I think about it, I think first the awareness piece is really crucial for folks to realize that not everyone has been afforded the same access to food, to healthcare, to being able to have the luxury to work from home. So many folks are losing jobs, losing healthcare, losing access to healthy food, being able to have transportation to get to these things. I think the awareness building is really important and really crucial. And this is raising issues for us as a country and as a nation that we have not addressed for so long because they have not been pressing issues. We've been able to move on and help the masses as opposed to helping those who really have issues around access and equity. I'm seeing it in so many spheres. I'm sure you're seeing it as an education major, thinking about how are we providing distance learning to folks who might not have access to computers and internet. I'm seeing it with my own sister who's a teacher and knowing that she's trying to reach families and parents and students and really having a challenge. So if we extrapolate that beyond the system of education and think all about all these systems we're a part of, healthcare, prison, there are so many different transportation, so many different systems that we're a part of that are really being hit severely as a result of this, not let alone the healthcare and other pieces. So I think for us, thinking about how we can use this downtime to engage virtually in advocacy, support, to be able to give our time, our resources to those who might not have them. I've seen some really creative and innovative ways that young folks are taking their skills and their passions and being able to cultivate those into tangible resources for folks, whether it's creating online educational resources or pamphlets that families can use for homeschooling, to being able to think outside the box and take 3D printers and making personal protective equipment for folks who are out there on the front lines. There are lots of ways that I think people are taking their skill sets and being innovative. And so I think if you're that person sitting in a home right now thinking, what am I doing? I'm bored. I've got all this free time. I think the better question we should ask is, what am I doing for others? How can I serve virtually, help virtually, do something that's making a positive impact to create better equity and access, whether it's through my social media, my networks. If I don't have the means to give of my time or my resources, how can I encourage others to do so? And I think this is a true time of humanity, being able to see the best in people. I think as we think about our nation and where we're at and heading into the next election, things can be really divisive and we pit each other against each other. I think this is a great time for us to, and I don't want to be all kumbaya, like come together, because there are real problems in the world, but I think it's also an opportunity for us to think about the humanity and the kindness that we can show others and the respect that we can give to other people that isn't always common practice. And it sucks that it takes a global pandemic for us to realize some of these equity and access issues, but there's no way that our nation, our world is going to go back to where we were 8 weeks ago and be able to forget like this didn't happen. We're going to move forward a completely different world, a different nation. And I think it's on us as leaders, as younger folks and the generations that are leading to really see this and figure out how do we move forward in a way that doesn't do more harm but creates more equity for everyone.
Absolutely. So what are some of the things that you've done for yourself during this time?
Oh, yeah. So great question. Okay, so I'll be honest. The first week was rough. The first week working from home, as for those of you who don't know, I have a 2-year-old.
Mhm.
And so trying to work from home, balance family, my own self-care was not easy.
Mhm.
I had to really sit down and think hard about what do I want out of my days and what are they going to look like. So my days usually start with sleeping in a little bit for me, which is 7:30, which normally I'm waking up at 5. So I'm
Mhm.
sleeping in a little, which makes me feel better. I feel more rested. That's lovely.
Mhm.
I start every day with a workout. So luckily, my awesome gym has been doing virtual boot camps, and every morning I start my day with a 45-minute boot camp, which makes me feel centered. I feel like I'm making good decisions. I'm
Mhm.
just excited about being able to have that workout done. And then I work up here upstairs on our
Mhm.
second floor and try to distance myself from my family, which is hard. But I
Mhm.
take some time, whether it's a break here or there or my lunch, to be able to spend time with them.
Mhm.
But I've been exercising. We've been cooking more, both out of necessity, but also just having more time.
Yeah.
I've been walking every day. As long as it's not raining, we're getting out and
Mhm.
walking. My poor son would love to go to the playground, but we can't. So
Mhm.
we're trying to think of innovative ways that we can play with them outside, whether it's blowing bubbles or chalking or filling up a
Yeah.
kiddie pool with water. So it's really joyful to see him not realize like all of this craziness in the world is happening around him. Like he just wants to go outside
Mhm.
and play, and that's a nice grounding reminder that you know I am safe, I am happy, and I'm healthy, and I have a home,
Mhm.
and to be really grateful for those things. I've been reading every day, so I
Mhm.
loved reading. I've always been a
Mhm.
voracious reader, but then life happens, and so I've been reading every day. I started meditating with some friends of mine. We created a meditation group, and I I'm not really into meditating, but I'm trying it, right? So that has been a new practice of mine. Been catching up on some things on Netflix and TV and Disney. I
Mhm.
sucked it up and bought Disney Plus because I'm like, you know what?
Yes.
We're at home. Let's take
Now's the
advantage of
perfect
this.
time.
Um, so yeah, I think when I reflect on it, even though the first week was hard, I'm definitely finding a lot of joy in this, in my family time. Even though we drive each other nuts sometimes, for the most
Mhm.
part, we're happy to be around each other. We're enjoying each other's company. We're trying new recipes. We're walking new routes. And we're trying to be creative and use our time. And the days, honestly, I thought they would go by really slow, but with a
Mhm.
full work day and all that Elon keeps us busy with, the days go by pretty fast. And before I
Yeah.
know it, the day is gone. And like I said, some days I feel really productive and great. And some days I'm like
Mhm.
drained from sitting on video calls all day.
Mhm.
Because I think being on a video call is very different than an in-person meeting. And I would much rather prefer in-person interactions with students like yourself, but this is the next best thing. So
Absolutely.
I've been doing some video chats with friends. I've been checking in with my sisters. So even though I'm on video for fun and for work, definitely find a lot of energy and excitement when I'm connecting with people via video. So
Absolutely.
lots of good things that we're doing in the Pursley household.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much.
You're
Those were
welcome.
all the questions that I had, and kind of engaging in this awesome discussion within this space. It'll be really interesting to kind of see what life is like after this all, and kind of what the byproduct of this whole global crisis will be. And just interesting to see the growth, but also I'm excited to see the unity of people and the excitement. And I don't think, going to a restaurant will ever be the same again. I have so many like grateful pieces of my heart that are now going out to the movie theaters and just, being able to walk through the grocery store and not feel like I'm in some weird movie, but it'll be interesting once all of it's over and to see how the growth has really propelled us in very different ways. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have folks back on campus. I think,
Mhm.
college campuses thrive in residential spaces, in relationships with people. So it just feels so different to not be in community and amongst other people. So I'm excited for the time, whenever that is, that
Mhm.
we return to campus and we're back with those people. when we can start to put back the somewhat normalcy of our routine and our lives at Elon, because I definitely miss it. I miss the students. I miss my colleagues. I miss my office. Like you said, things that you didn't realize that you had taken for granted and not being able to have. I miss those small things. So I'm looking forward to being back with everyone at Elon soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for this. This was really special. And yeah, and just a really cool dialogue. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to do this.
Thanks, Kristin.
Of course.